Cheeseheads, get on your feet. It's Curd and Long. Hosted by Sparky, Fifer, and Ryan Horvat.
Welcome in, Curd and Long. Steve Sparky, Fifer, along with my guy Ryan Horvat. BetMGM tonight. Catch him, Tristan Crick, and Nick Ashu. Weeknights, Monday through Friday, while the games are going on. They help you with your in-game betting advice. Talk about the West Coast games, whatever sport it may be at that time. Help you out there too. Highly entertaining, fun. They do interviews most nights as well with different experts around the industry or experts on different teams. I've been on the show a couple of times. So always a good fun time there. Follow him at Ryan Horvat. Follow me at Sparky Radio. You can catch me on 1250 AM The Fan on your radio dial after every Milwaukee Bucks basketball game. Potawatomi Sportsbook Pro Hoops post-game show served up by Wendy's. If you can't listen that way, you can always stream it on your Odyssey app. All right, Ryan Horvat, let's continue to talk about the NFL draft here as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft. And I am going to tell you, Ryan Horvat, I am conflicted. We've had numerous draft analysts on this show, right? We've had Ian Cummings was just on this show from Pro Football Network. He was on the last Curd and Long podcast. Very cool. They just started on Pro Football Network where you can go into a mock draft room. So let's say Ryan and his buddies that he's tight with wanted to do a mock draft room. So like he could be the Bears, somebody else could be the Packers, somebody else could be the Vikings, the Lions, and you do a mock draft together. As part of this deal. You can have it password sensitive, so only your friends can do it, and you can just join a public one. It's a very cool idea. So we've had him. We've had Chad Ryder on numerous times, NFL draft analyst for NFL.com. He's been on SSP since we started the station for years. So we've had all these different draft analysts on, and I love it. And now The Athletic just put out a piece. Matt Schneidman wrote it, about the top guys that may be of interest to the Green Bay Packers. And in there, Dane Brugler is the guy that's used. And he is their draft analyst for The Athletic. Very good. I like him a lot. I think he's good at what he does. However, the thing that put me into a position of question is Bruce Feldman, college football writer for The Athletic as well. Longtime college football writer. Like him too. Got no issues with him. Put out a piece, a mock draft kind of, sort of, for each team going through the mock draft. And then he took and got anonymous coaches, right? And they had quotes of their teams facing this individual and what they thought of the individual, good or bad, and put that there, which led me to this question. Who are we supposed to believe here? I mean, am I supposed to buy into what the coaches are saying? Am I supposed to buy into what the draft analysts are saying? Because there's one guy in Graham Barton, the offensive lineman, who, if you read the quotes on the offensive from these guys, the coaches, they're all like, they're talking about him going early? Really? And they're not sold on it at all. But then you go and read these draft analysts, and they love this kid, right? And going a tackle, going inside to play guard, and so forth. They all have him in the first round. And meanwhile, there's coaches that, think he's good, but they don't know if he's worthy of a first-round pick at the end of the day. So who do you believe, Ryan Horvat? Who am I supposed to buy into here? I'm confused. I need help.
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy into anybody, around draft season, really, because nobody really knows what the Packers are going to do, right? I mean, they're going to take the most athletic. Good has a type. So you don't know. I don't know. I don't think really any of these analysts know. I mean, look at the last couple of weeks, for example, not even involving the Green Bay Packers. We've heard J.J. McCarthy could potentially be the number 2 overall pick. I don't think that's going to happen, man. No. I just think the upside of Jaden Daniels and Drake May is too high. I do think JJ is going to go in the top 10, though. Now we're hearing about Michael Penix because he ran a 4.540. We know he can make every single throw. I like Michael Penix a lot.
Did you hear Michael Penix is having his pro workout day
in Atlanta?
And the team that is sending a large contingency, general manager, head coach, bunch of other people all flying to see him, the Atlanta Falcons.
I like that, man, because Kirk Cousins is 37 years old and coming off an Achilles injury.
Okay, but so you're telling me you signed Kirk Cousins to all that money and then you take a quarterback in the top 10 after you sign Cousins to that contract? I mean, people were all mad at the Jordan Love draft pick. That was at least at the end of the first round, and he sat. Penix is an older player. It's not like, he's a younger quarterback coming out and they have time. To me, if they take Penix in the top 10 after you just signed Kirk Cousins, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of crazy to me because when you sign Kirk Cousins, that tells me that, okay, you're in bed with Kirk Cousins for 2 or 3 years here.
I think their thoughts are probably like if Penix does drop in this draft, right? Because after that initial run of quarterbacks, like the top tier guys, then we probably get the receivers, then we get the tackles, and maybe they're thinking that there's a way they could even buy back in and get them. And then, I mean,
that would make sense.
It would be genius because, yeah, they're probably seeing what the Packers have done, and they're thinking, okay, Kirk Cousins is good. And, you know, like last year, I think here's the way that Atlanta's looking at it is like probably last year they were like the hot pick to win that division or at least win double-digit games, and they were just a quarterback away. So now you get your 37-year-old quarterback, but he's also coming off, again, an Achilles injury. And that team's built to win for the next couple of years. You know what I mean? Like they have Bijan, they have Tyler Algier, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. These are all young dudes, young coaching staff now. So they're probably thinking like, damn, man, like if we could sit Michael Penix behind Cousins the next couple of years, or just if Cousins isn't right, then you got yourself a really good backup because that division stinks.
Yes. So I looked at Cousins' contract. So technically they could get out after 2 years. Dead cap money is $90 million this year. Obviously, he's playing. $65 million in 2025. He's playing. The dead cap number in 2026, the cap hit is 57.5, but the dead cap is $25 million. So really, this can be a 2-year deal, and they can boogie. If they go 3 years and opt out after 2026, so Penix would start in 27, the cap hit is 57.5 million. The dead cap is only 12.5. So really, if they like Penix, they could draft him, sit him 2 years, and then play him after 2 years and take the cap hit on Cousins and still save money against the cap in 2026. That's my guess. They sit him for 2 years and then he gets to play. Or if Cousins gets hurt again, he plays sooner.
Or they don't even draft him, man. I would love to see Seattle draft Penix and, you know, sticks around and because I don't think Geno's that guy. I don't think Sam Howell's that guy. So I would love to see him like in that situation because that's a team that could be pretty good, I think, with that young defense. Love Devin Weatherspoon. But yeah, man, I don't really know what to believe. With the Packers, you never really know what to believe. I think that Goop probably has obviously his board. He has his guys circled. And nobody really knows this time of the year. You know, I mean, I think we have pretty good ideas on some of these teams, right? At least like what
the Packers were trying to get up to Seattle's pick at 16. That they're one of 3 teams, according to a report last night that I saw on Twitter, that they're one of 3 teams trying to get up to 16 with Seattle. That Seattle is looking to move back and to get more picks, and the Packers were possibly looking to move up. And I forgot who the other 2 teams are. But there's 3 teams, according to this report, that were trying to get up to 16. Now, I ask you, if they move up almost 10 spots, what are they moving up for? Or who are they moving up for at that point if you're going up that high? Because that's a significant jump.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, if you're going up that high, I don't think you're doing so for Kool-Aid McKinstry or for Coop or for a defensive back or a safety. So are you going tackle? Are you going defensive line? Maybe getting Kenny Clark some help on that defensive line. Not really an edge rusher, but maybe another tackle. I wouldn't hate that. Although, you know, I like Wyatt, but that's a great question right there. You know, is it a wide receiver? Are they going to get Jordan Love? No, I don't think so either.
I think it's an offensive tackle. That's where my money is.
You know what I would love to see them do, especially because you have the 2 second-round picks. I know that Diggs is going to be 31 years old, right? And he didn't go over 100 yards receiving the final 13 games of the season or whatever it was, 11 games of the season. But I would love to see Green Bay just do something for Jordan Love they've never done for Rodgers and just take those 2 second-round picks or the first-round pick and trade it for T. Higgins at 25 years old. Because this Christian Watson stuff, we haven't had the opportunity to talk about this actually with me being off. But Toby, this Christian Watson stuff.
Toby Altizer?
He just walked by. He must be
Toby Altizer is filling in for me on the postgame show this week. A week from tonight, Friday and Sunday, he's hosting the Potawatomi Sportsbook Pros postgame show served up by Wendy's. He was just on the postgame show, the last show I did, Toby Altizer. How about those apples? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Trista's office because I don't even get my own office, but she does. She's got like dog food in here. It's crazy. Anyway, but so, you know, like I would love to see them because this Christian Watson stuff is crazy. Like where he's going to see this specialist, right? Is it his hamstring, right? Yep. I'm losing my mind. I got like 2 hours of sleep. Yeah, you see him. I don't know that he's ever going to be right. I think he's too tall, big, fast for his own body, whatever you want to say there. I worry about that. And like, I like all these young receivers, and I know Green Bay's never really needed that guy, but man, imagine having a guy that you could throw back shoulder jump balls to in the end zone like T. Higgins. Every year he's healthy, man. He has double-digit touchdowns. And if we're loading up on the offense and you guys are all going to go crazy over a 26-year-old running back, we don't spend money on running backs. That's my motto. You could have got 2 in the draft. You could have got my main man out of Notre Dame. You could have got my boy out of Oregon. Okay. I know you guys hate Bucky Irving, but all I'm saying is go get T. Higgins, or you take your best available player. I don't know that I want to tackle, but it's probably a position of need. I see is Tyler Guyton the guy that
he's not going to go. He's not going to go that high. By all indications, he's going to go at the end of the first. J.C. Latham, maybe that'll be a guy that they would want to take up there around 16, somewhere in that area. How about this? I've got one for you. DeGuara is gone, right? Gone. Jacksonville. Good luck to you.
Yeah, they took all the scraps, him and Savage.
What if they're going up for Brock Bowers to be an H-back? What if that's the play?
No.
Hey, why not? Why couldn't he be the H-back for this team?
Okay, well, if that happens, I'm not really a jersey guy anymore. I'm getting the whole family Brock Bowers jerseys. Don't even do that to me.
Because I'm telling you, doesn't it make sense as the H-back in this offense?
It does, dude, but they drafted too many freaking tight ends last year for me to believe it's even a possibility. You got Musgrave, you got Kraft, you know what I mean? And
you got those two, yeah.
But I would love it. And it's not only, I mean, I don't know that you would consider him even an H-back.
He's a willing blocker, so he can be that guy like DeGuara was. Right, and then
he makes DeGuara, yeah. Don't even ever put them in the same sentence.
But that's what I'm saying. It's a huge upgrade at that position, right? And now it gives him another weapon, Jordan Love, another weapon to use that's a year behind the rookie receivers last year. He's 2 years behind Watson and Dobbs. So really, you're just continuing to lengthen out how long he's going to have weapons for, depending on if you re-sign guys or don't re-sign guys or whatever the case may be. And then Musgrave and stuff. I mean, Horvat, imagine this offense if they took Bowers as the H-back. Imagine.
Yeah, it would be probably, top 10 in the league. I'd be really excited about it. If they get anybody, I mean, I want defense or I want tackle. I want, like, the safe position because I feel like last year proved, all these dudes, it's going to be hard enough to get these guys reps. All these wide receivers, these young receivers. I could still – but if they get Bowers or any of these wide receivers, I'm going to be super excited. But I do think that like Jaden Reed's going to take that year 2 leap. He's going to have a monster season if he's able to stay healthy. I like Wicks. Obviously, I like Dobbs. But you know what, man? The more I think about it with this Watson stuff, I really do want another wide receiver. This is the deepest wide receiver class. You know what I mean? Like, remember when Keon Coleman?
Too.
I mean, even like Keon Coleman was projected to go number 16 just a month ago, and he ran a crappy 40. Do you think I care that he ran a bad 40? That's a dude that played D1 basketball and football and could out jump anybody.
Right.
He's not the biggest guy, but you throw him, like, he could be like, everybody thought, I mean, I'm not comparing like because of the speed, but like people thought CeeDee Lamb was too small, remember, to play on the outside or be a number 1 overall wide receiver. Sometimes size doesn't matter. Hell, dude, Deebo Samuel, like a lot of these receivers aren't too big. Tyreek Hill, I don't know. After last year, I'm back in on the Goot train that he knows what he's doing. Like I went back and the draft that I ripped, like the DeGuara pick was so bad. And Andy Herman put out this tweet. They didn't really miss on anybody there, and So
this is the thing. As you're talking, I'm still thinking about this possibility of moving up. If you're going to move up now, and you're talking about moving up now to a certain number, right? That means you have a good idea of what everybody is looking at in the draft. That means it's not player specific, probably. It's more or less position specific, where you think there's going to be a run on a certain position that you have interest in, and you project it to start in that area. And you don't think that position is going to get to you at 25. So you're figuring we need to get in front of this run of the position that we need. That's why I think it's offensive tackle. That to me, because again, there's a bunch of offensive tackles that are going to go in the first round here, and I think they want to get to the front of the line to get the top second or third offensive tackle in their mind to come in here and play. Because again, I don't think they're sold on Rasheed Walker.
I got all my stuff up. Are there any tackles that you want to know my opinion on, or are you pretty good on all of them?
Well, I mean, again, I'm an Alabama guy, so I love J.C. Latham, obviously, from Alabama. But, I mean, there's other guys there. And if you look at these mock drafts of where they're going to go, it's right in that area of where there's going to be a run on offensive line. And, like, people think the Jets may go offensive tackle, so that'll be one of the offensive tackles right off the board. There's talk of the Chargers maybe going offensive tackle with Joe Alt. But somewhere in that area of around 10 down, there's going to be a run on offensive linemen. And clearly the best tackles are not going to make it to 25. So that's why I would think it would make sense if they were to move up. And from a position of strength, they have it. Like, I don't know who else has more assets as far as draft picks go to give up than the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they could go up, 9 slots and give up a third round pick and a future 2 or whatever they have to do to get the deal done to go up and get them. And if they think the tackle is a left tackle for the next 10 to 15 years, Ryan, to protect your quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, it's worth giving up picks if you're that sold on somebody.
Yeah, even though it's only been a couple shows, I feel like, man, we're on the same page here. So I'm with you on J.C. Latham. I think he's my favorite tackle actually in this draft. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, man, but and it was only one game. But like I was a little it broke my heart that they actually lost that frickin' game. But like the game where Joe Alt was getting pushed around by like 265-pound linemen against Louisville kind of concerned me a little bit. But I love Latham. And what I like about him, so he'll only be 21 actually week 1 of the season. And he has 2 years where he started in the SEC at Alabama. And, that Alabama offensive line actually, like on paper, it looks so damn good. But they were a little bit of a disappointment, but it wasn't because of him, man. And again, 2 years that he started, had 18 penalties over the last 2 years. I think he's going to have to clean that up a little bit. But I like his size. I really like his speed. And I like the system that he played in. I like that he was a Nick Saban guy, Alabama guy. So I wouldn't hate that at all. If they're going tackle, I'll be really excited about that. Crap, I almost swore. Hell, I might even buy his jersey. But now you got me all excited about Brock Bowers. I know it's not going to happen. They never take the guy that I wanted. The last time that happened was Clinton Dix.
That's who I wanted to at that pick because it was such an obvious need that they needed him. B.J. Raji was a guy I wanted that year in the draft because they needed a big fat guy, and they took Raji, and I was super excited. I didn't see Clay Matthews getting taken and them trading up for Clay Matthews. But, I mean, that's the thing. You've got 5 picks. You could trade up to 16, like the apparent rumor is, but you could then trade back into the first round at around 29 or 30 because you still have more picks and take another player if you want to take another player there or trade up and still have picks in the second and third round.
Oh, really quick. You asked me earlier to answer that question a little bit better, who I trust, who I believe. Yep. Nobody that says that they're going to move up in this draft. When the F did the Packers move up in a draft? If anything, they're going to move back and stock
Jordan Love.
Picks. Yeah, okay, Jordan Love. Yeah, but like this year, dude, like
they've got the picks to move up. They got an extra 2. They got an extra 3. They've got the weaponry to move up and still be able to take players in the second and the third.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, do you think that there's that big of a drop off from Mims to the next tackle? And I'm not saying that he's going to be available. You know what I mean? But like, do you think there's that much of a drop off from? Because you're not going to get one of the top 2 dudes. You're not going to get Neighbors or Marvin Harrison. You know what I mean? You're probably not even going to have an opportunity to get Brock Bowers. So what I'm asking you is, do you think that there's a huge drop-off between Terrion Arnold and Cooper or, Kool-Aid even? I don't know. So I don't know that this is the draft that you move up in unless you're like a team that like needs Drake May or Jaden Daniels. You know what I mean? And the Packers, they have needs, but do they? Would you be mad? Let me ask you this really quick. And let me ask you a 2-part question. Would the fan base be mad? Probably. And would you be mad if they moved up to take a DB or a safety in this draft?
There's no safety worth taking in the first round. So yes, on that for sure.
All right, DB.
And DB, I'd rather have an offensive tackle, but I would not be mad if they moved up to take Terrion Arnold. I'd be fine with that. McKinstry's not worth taking. I don't think that early. No. And my thoughts on DeJean. Absolutely not. So yeah, I guess if it was Terrion Arnold, if they moved up for him, I think I'd be okay with that. The other position we haven't talked about is what if they moved up for an edge? What if that's what they're going up there to get is to get another pass rusher, to play that other outside linebacker position now going to this defense. Do they move up for a Dallas Turner maybe to try and bring him in to go along with Rashawn Gary and Quay Walker and these other guys on that defense and try to help out the front seven? Let me say this again. I do not want to move up for Johnny Newton of Illinois. No, absolutely not. And again, I like him. I think he's a good player. I do. I like him a lot. I think he's a good player. He's not big enough for me, man. I mean, we got guys like Carl Brooks and those guys that are good pass rushers that can hold their own. I want a big dude. I don't want him. He's not big enough for me to be worthy of moving up and taking. I don't think they're moving up to take Devondre Sweat, even though I love him. I don't think they're going to take him up in the middle of the draft. So that's why I just think corner makes sense, though. I mean, you're right, Ryan. That would make sense if they traded up for a corner, because the Packers' history is the last first-round Packer offensive lineman was who? Derek Sherrod? And he had issues, injuries, and everything else and never panned out. But normally they take those offensive linemen later in the draft. So that would be unusual, too. Not only that they move up, but then they move up for a tackle would be highly unusual as well. So we'll have to wait and see how that whole thing plays out.
Really quick. No. Because I wanted to say one thing. So with Newton, I know he doesn't have the best size, man, but man, is he quick and he can get after the quarterback. But you're going to hate me. I've talked myself into I want DeJean. I want Cooper DeJean. I think he could play outside corner. I think he could play safety, and I think he could play in the slot. The more I watch him, man, his footwork is so good. He's an athlete. I was watching his basketball highlights, and he's got great ball skills. I think he's going to be an outside corner, and I promise you, we could do a bet. We could do, if you want to run this tape back, I promise you he'll be an all-pro within the first 2 to 3 years. And I don't even think they should pick up Stokes' option. I have no idea what Stokes is. Or you do, and then you have another corner. You have more depth at that position. But I've talked myself into, I like him. I'm with you on Arnold. I wouldn't hate Kool-Aid McKinstry, that pick, but I just think that Arnold's the better corner from the same team.
Are we talking still at 16, or are we at 25 with this pick? Where are you talking about taking
25? 25.
So you're not saying move up to take this dude at 16?
I don't want them to move up in this draft unless they're moving up to get Brock Bowers or Marvin Harrison, or like we're getting wild.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or they're like, hey, Sean Clifford, GTF, OH, we're taking Michael Penix. I'm kidding. It's Jordan Love's too young for that. That was
you want to see people lose their minds. They go draft the quarterback in the first round again after that kid played for a year. Oh my! Could you imagine? We've decided not to sign you to an extension. Draft,
it has to be tackle Bowers or receiver. Not an edge rusher in this draft. I don't think there's that big of a dip off. You could just stay there at 25 and get your guy.
Right. All right. Very good. All right. Let's take a quick time. I'll come back. Topic number 2. Who will be here long-term with the Green Bay Packers? A great article written. We'll go over that coming up next with Ryan Horvat. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer. It is Curd and Long. Download it on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app. Also check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Back after this. Hey, it's Sparky Fifer, 1250 a.m. The Fan, along with Ryan Horvat of BetMGM tonight, weeknights, part of the BetQL Radio Network. Also can listen to it on your Odyssey app. A great piece written by Dyer Carricker, who does a great job for the Packer Report. The article says, predicting who will still be on the Packers roster 2 years from now. And obviously, he goes Love, Sean Clifford. Obviously, we know Jordan Love. Running backs, none. He doesn't think anybody will still be here in 2 years. Wide receivers. He says, Reed and Wicks feel like locks as they will still be on their rookie contract. By that point, I have faith that Wicks has established himself as the guy in Green Bay. Yes, seriously, there's nobody with more potential on the roster right now than him. Then he says, I went with Romeo Dobbs to be re-signed and Christian Watson to be let go. Dobbs feels like a humble starting contributor who Green Bay would retain on a team-friendly deal. For Watson, the boom-bust question remains even after entering year 3 of his career. Agree or disagree with that take by Dyer Carricker? Oh, I think I lost Ryan Horvat. Did I lose Ryan Horvat? Yep, I lost Ryan Horvat officially. Okay. See, this is what happens. You do this live streaming stuff like we do using StreamYard, sometimes with internet connections, everything else, and he's in radio building in Washington, D.C. So sometimes that stuff is going to happen. All right, let's talk a little bit about the tight end position. He thinks both guys, Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, both here 2 years from now. And I would tend to agree with that. Offensive line, Elton Jenkins, Zach Tom, and Rasheed Walker. I guess I'm I'm going to argue the fact that it's Rasheed Walker at the end of the day. And the reason I'm going to argue it is simply because if they do take an offensive lineman here in the first round, if that's what ends up happening, I think Rasheed Walker is gone. I disagree here. I don't think Rasheed Walker is probably here at the end of the day. And again, he brings up that Walker could fill the quality replacement tackle role that Yash held for a few years in Green Bay. My guess is we'll soon know a couple more guys to add to this list in 3 weeks' time once the draft is done. So maybe he ends up being the swing tackle. Maybe that's a thing. Did he put enough on tape to where they could possibly trade Rasheed Walker? But I definitely agree with Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins still being here in a couple of years. Ryan Horvat joins us again. I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier when I went to you, which is wide receiver. He thinks in 2 years' time, Reed will still be here, Wicks, Dobbs, and Malik Heath. He thinks Christian Watson will not be here, and he will be somewhere else. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, you know what? That's tough right now. Yeah, I mean, right now I would have to agree, man, because I'm worried about Christian Watson's health. I mean, is he ever going to make it through 70% of the season? He had flashes with Aaron Rodgers the final couple weeks of his rookie season. Him and Jordan Love never really were on the same page. But again, dude, he's a boomer bust guy. I mean, if he's healthy next season, he could be a guy that catches double-digit touchdowns. And he is a guy that Green Bay needs. You know, Reed is a different type of dude. You know, he could be a gadget guy, Swiss Army guy. He could play on the outside, but I think he's probably at his best more in the slot. I'm not sure, though. He's good all around. But like Dobbs is your underneath guy. You need a guy that could take the top off of the defense, and that's what Christian Watson can do. I do like Heath. I do like Wicks. But this is a big prove-it year for all these dudes. Right now, I would agree with his wide receivers, and I did catch you on the tackles, and I would agree on Tom. I would agree on Jenkins. I would agree on Walker. It seems like they really like Walker, but that could change, like we just talked about with the draft, if they move up and do take a tackle. And, you know, actually, the one guy, I don't know, man, like, yeah, Elton Jenkins, yeah, but like when he gets closer to 30 years old, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved on, because that's just what the Green Bay Packers do with their offensive line, as history has proven. Josh Sitton, TJ Lang, and, you know, so on and so on. Corey Linsley, even, who's still
defensive line. He has Kenny Clark, Carl Brooks, and Colby Wooden all still being here in 2 years. He writes, Clark is under contract for 2026, but it sounds like both parties are very much interested in an extension in the not so distant future. Can we talk about that for a second, please? This extension talk that they're talking about, because I saved something earlier today off of Twitter. Adam Schefter put it out there because Derek Brown just signed with the Panthers a 4-year, $96 million deal. Extensions in the last year for defensive tackle. Chris Jones, 5 years, $158. Christian Wilkins, 4 years, $110. Quinnen Williams, 4 years, $96. Derek Brown's 4 years, $96. Jeffrey Simmons, 4 years, $94. Darren Payne, 4 years, $90. Dexter Lawrence, 4 years, $90. Leonard Williams, 3 years, $64.5 million. Javon Hargrave, 4 years, $84. Are we wanting to pay, 4 years at $100 million to Kenny Clark? No. I'll tell you right now, my answer is no. I do not want to pay that much money.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like Kenny Clark's really underrated, and I know there's games where, and I've even said this, like, you pop on the film, the tape, the All-22, you go back and watch the game, whatever the F, and you're like, where the hell was Kenny Clark? He didn't make a play. But then you go back, man, and he was a beast last year. He had 23 solo tackles. He had 9 sacks, which was actually tied for 7th in the league. He had 2 forced fumbles, which was actually 2nd in the league. Pro Football Focus gave him a 74.4 pass rush grade. Run defense only 61.2. That's what I'm saying. They need more beef on that defensive line, more big boys in the middle and up front. But, I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I also wouldn't hate it if they looked elsewhere or wanted to do something else. You know what I mean? Because when these guys get a little bit older, that's when I have my concerns.
Where do you want to –
Clark going to be dominant?
Where do you want to spend your money? I mean, that's just what it is. Like, do you want to spend your money on defensive tackles? And my answer is no, I don't. I want to spend my money on quarterbacks, wide receivers, pass rushers, corner. Those 4 positions. If you don't play one of those 4 positions, I'm not paying you some crazy amount of money. And again, say what you want about that philosophy, but that would be my philosophy as GM. Those 4 positions, I'll pay a lot of money to, right? And offensive tackles. Let me add that in there. So quarterback, offensive tackle, wide receiver, pass rusher, and corner. I'll pay big money for those players. Outside of those positions, I'm out. I'm not paying a ton of money for guards. I'm not paying a ton of money for running backs, for centers, for defensive tackles, for safeties. No, I'm not doing it unless you have a really cheap roster, right? So right now, wide receiver and running back is extremely, well, not running back, but wide receiver is extremely cheap for the Packers. Tight end is extremely cheap. So fine, you splurge on McKinney at safety, and you'll be out of that deal probably by the time you have to pay those guys, so it makes sense. But when you have a full roster and a big contract at quarterback, you have to pick and choose where to spend your money. They're going to have that with Jordan Love, Ryan. I don't want to spend that money on Kenny Clark. They just took 2 guys last year in Clark and Wooden. That looked just fine to me.
Yeah, and this is why, I wasn't being a hater when I said I didn't love the Jordan Love pick. It had nothing to do with Jordan Love, the talent, or Jordan Love, the kid, or me being the biggest Rodgers homer. It was because, did you see what the Texans did this week, dude? They went out and made more moves this entire offseason. They had Hunter on that pass rush with Will Anderson. They had Diggs. He could be wide receiver number 3.
That's literally a deal.
And they did so because they have C.J. Stroud, who might be the 3rd best quarterback in the league, and they have him on a rookie deal. Now we have to pay Jordan Love. That was always my point. But people just don't get it because they're too busy carrying the water for this freaking team. But that was always my point. And now, so you're right. You have to be careful how you spend your money. And that's why this offseason they were able to do that with Josh Jacobs, which ends up being probably a 1 or 2 year deal, and with McKinney, who makes so much money on the first year, the front end of that deal.
All right, let's talk about edge rushers. That's the next position. Carragher's got Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, and Brenton Cox Jr. still there in 2 years. That's a lot of faith and a lot of love that Cox Jr. is going to be a factor on this team. Now, going back to what we said in the first segment, if they think Cox Jr. is that guy, then there's no need to trade up for an edge rusher. Or even take an edge rusher for that matter in the first round, if you think that those 3 guys are legit long-term answers. Because I don't know I guess you could use 4, but if you have 3 really good pass rushers at edge, I don't think you have to waste a first-round pick on one run.
I think what would help Cox Jr. stay on this roster would be Rashawn Gary showing up, which he didn't do the final 8 weeks of the season last year. He can't have no sacks, man. He's got to be a double-digit sack guy because that's how he's getting paid. Lucas Van Ness should probably be a double-digit sack guy, 8-9 sacks at least, because that's where he was drafted. It's too hard to call these other guys. You know what I mean? It's too hard, but I think that would help him. That would probably free him up if those other guys commanded some double teams, or took some more attention. So I think that's what it comes down to. I got to see more from Rashawn Gary. Obviously, he's going to be on this roster. You just committed to him. You paid him. We all love him. He had some monster games, but we need him, man. In those big games, against San Fran, against teams like Detroit, teams like, even Dallas, who you pounded in the playoffs, he's got to show up for those games.
Linebacker Quay Walker, obviously, no dispute there with anybody else. Cornerback still there in 2 years. He says Jair Alexander, Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon. I'm only in on Jair Alexander, and that's only kind of in, hoping he is happy and doesn't ask for a trade before then. So I'm in on Alexander. I'm not in long-term on Valentine or Keyshawn Nixon yet.
I'm not in on any of those guys. I mean, talent-wise, with Jair, but we see this all the time, man. And we were just talking a couple months ago when the season wrapped up about Jair's Instagram post. And, we see this with corners all the time. Guys like Jalen Ramsey get moved. Darrelle Revis gets moved. Richard Sherman didn't finish his career with the league in Seattle. You know what I mean? It's just a position where maybe he wants out. Maybe the Packers deal him. And that's the other thing. How many dominant corners are there, man, past 28, 29 years old? We always talk about this with running backs and sometimes with wide receivers, but corners the same. A lot of these guys, you could still get some good years out of these guys in their 30s, but you have your dominant all-pro seasons in your 20s. If I had to answer any of those 3, definitely would be Jair. I have no idea if Stokes is ever going to be healthy ever again.
No, he's not even on the list. He doesn't even have Stokes coming back, so you don't got to worry about that.
I know. I was going to say that'd be the only other guy I'd throw on there.
Right. Safety. Xavier McKinney's still here. I could very well see that. And Anthony Johnson Jr., who was a draft pick, of the Packers in the last couple of years, and maybe, but again, I go back to Cox Jr. If they think Cox Jr. is that, they don't need an edge rusher. If they think Anthony Johnson Jr. is the answer to play next to McKinney going forward, then they don't have to worry about taking a safety the first couple of days of the draft. They could take a safety in rounds 3 or 4 to come in to compete against Anthony Johnson Jr. if they think he is the answer. And I know coming out, Anthony Johnson Jr. had a lot of fans from a draft analyst standpoint that really liked his game coming out. And he showed you a little something in preseason. I guess I haven't considered him to be a guy that's going to start next to McKinney. We'll see. But if they like him as much as Carricker does, maybe they don't draft a safety in day 1 or day 2 of this draft.
Yeah, I feel like preseason will be pretty big for him, and just like getting his reps, because I have no idea. I do want more depth at the position. It could be in the later rounds.
Right.
No, like you can get a good safety in the 3rd round, to be honest with you, man.
Yep.
You know what I mean? 2nd round, and that's the beneficial. That's the good part, I should say, about having the Rodgers pick in the 2nd round. Should have been a better draft pick, obviously, but that helps. You could get multiple dudes, to be honest with you. I think you need help at that position, and you need help on special teams always. Special teams
Totally
always.
agree. All right, take a quick time out, come back. One short segment left here, and it concerns Jordan Love and social media. We'll talk to you about that next here on Kurt and Long. Download it in your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app, check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Back after this. Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 AM, The Fan, along with Ryan Horvat of BetMGM tonight. Check him out on the BetQL Radio Network. Weeknights with Trista Crick and Nick Ashu, as they have you covered while the games are going on. You listen to them on the radio or on your Odyssey app, and they'll tell you some in-game betting advice for the different games going on, or they'll look ahead of the West Coast games, give you some betting advice there, maybe some long-term future plays that you can do. They're there for you each and every night, Monday through Friday. Okay, the question now is, how much do you want to know about Jordan Love off the field? Why did this come up? Well, because earlier today, before we recorded this here on Friday afternoon, I saw a video with, whatever you want to call it, where the words come across the screen, closed captioning, whatever you want to call it, of Jordan Love talking to somebody that he was with at a Los Angeles Dodgers baseball game, right? And the reason it got out there, I guess, a little bit was because Jordan Love threw his hands up in the air, didn't stand up, threw his hands up in the air and did the wave, and everybody's making a big deal that he likes the wave and whether that's good or bad or whatever. But it's Jordan Love in this video talking about how he played baseball all the way up through middle school. He was an umpire as well, having parents swear at him and stuff. When he was in high school, he was an umpire for baseball, and how, he's a baseball fan, yada, yada, yada. My thing is this. I don't think I want to know a lot about Jordan Love. I'll be honest. Think about our track record right now. Brett Favre, right? All the stuff with Brett Favre. That didn't turn out so well. And how many of you were worshiping Brett Favre back when he was here? Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Conspiracy Theory. Are we all on board with wanting to know more about what Aaron Rodgers thinks of life? Some maybe. I'm not one. I don't need to know all that other stuff, right? So not really interested. And now here we are with Jordan Love. Now, of the three, he seems the most normal. Without questions, not even close. He seems like the most normal dude that you can hang out with and like just a guy. Now, once he gets paid all this money, will he change? Who knows? Might. Don't know. But do you want to seriously continue to go down this rabbit hole of every time he's out setting up video, taking pictures, doing this whole thing, and really trying to get to know this guy as much as possible in the off the field? Or are you fine just being concerned about the football player? I'll be honest, I kind of don't want to know. I like just to have Jordan Love as my quarterback. What I know from the press conferences is good enough, and let's roll and play from there. I'm just scared. Like, got burned twice now with Favre and Rodgers. I don't want to get burned a third time by thinking I know something about somebody and then being completely 1,000% wrong.
No, I mean, and I don't know Jordan Love personally, but I don't think the money's going to get to his head or anything like that. Now, maybe he'll meet some Instagram models or something like that. And him and his
girl. He's had a girl. He's had a girl for a while.
That's what I'm saying. The worst thing I think that happens is maybe something goes down with some chicks. I'm just kidding. But what I'm saying is the way that, all the interviews I've seen with Jordan Love, the way that dude, his dad passed away. He was still young, man. His mom was a single parent and obviously wants to make her proud. I think when he gets his money, he's probably going to do smart things with his money. Seems like a really good dude with a good head on his shoulders. Brett was always a freaking wild card, man. You know what I mean? Brett was drinking a lot. The painkiller stuff, the infidelity stuff, things I don't care about, but we always knew that about Brett. Listen to Leroy talk about Brett in the locker room. You know what I mean? She's playing dominoes and stuff. And with Rodgers, I still think Rodgers is an awesome dude. Every teammate. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Alan Lazard. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was out with Zach Gelb.
With Gelb. Yeah, I think Rodgers is just different. I think he just marches to the beat of his own drum, to be honest with you. I think he's a good dude. Hell, like during the pandemic, he did more than our government did for small businesses and for some people. With Jordan Love, though, I think he's pretty normal. But to answer the question, like in my mid-30s, I don't care anymore. When I was a kid, I wanted to know everything about Michael Jordan and
for sure,
Brett Favre.
So it's maybe because I'm old.
These kids are all like so much younger and they're making so much more money than me that I don't care as long as they're not getting arrested. As long as they're not pulling a Rashee Rice and causing a 7-car pileup or getting caught with guns and drugs.
That's horrible.
Killing people. I don't care. I really don't care. Yeah, I think that honestly he should be suspended for the entire year. He could have killed somebody.
Look at the Ruggs incident that happened with the Raiders.
I'm saying,
like, how does everybody in the NFL now look at that and go, okay, this probably isn't a good idea?
The Georgia stuff. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know, man. The kid was really good with the Chiefs last year.
Set an example right now. Like, dude, I mean, nobody should be betting games, but Calvin Ridley wasn't even in the league when he was betting games. He sat out that entire season and he was betting games. It wasn't like he was betting like Calvin Ridley to have 5 receptions.
Right.
So, and I'm not condoning that either. He deserved, I honestly think if you get caught once betting on the same league, you should be done forever. Honestly. Like,
agreed.
Calvin Ridley's betting the NBA. I don't care. You ever try to watch? Yeah, you watch it every night. You try to watch that crap product, your crap team. God, are they terrible, by the way.
The Bucks have been a crap product for the last 2 games.
Jesus. Giannis is going to be in Chicago soon enough.
No chance. He is 0 chance. He is Ryan Horvat. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. You can follow me at Sparky Radio. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of Curd and Long. Tell your friends, tell your family members. Download, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications on YouTube. Again, we just want to continue to grow the audience. We think we have a pretty good and fun show. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good one. Toodles.